All right, this is Benedictine Leadership 101, Class 18, I think, Class 18, an introduction to the question of truth. The two topics were, or the two texts that we read were Joseph Pieper's The Defense of Freedom, and if you got kids around, swear word coming, Zagzebski's article, Bullshit. The article is wonderful. It's exactly what it says. It addresses bullshit. What is bullshit, and how does that? What is the relationship of bullshit and bullshitters to truth and the pursuit of truth? So the two articles. What are we doing here? The nature, the pursuit of truth. So we want to bring everything from the class up to this point here, and Joseph Pieper does that. So the course has really introduced us to what is a liberal arts education, what is a humanities program, what is it doing, and our proposal at Mount Marty is that it helps us to understand who we are. What does it mean to be a human person? So we look at different schools of thought about what it means to be a human person, and then we reflect upon what does that then in turn mean for me as a person that reflects upon these great questions of the human person and of human existence. We gain insight and wisdom from thinking about what other people have to say on those questions. And then we get a choice. We get to choose between the path that we'll take. And we've really looked consistently about the human person, first as a person that is intellectual. We have a reasoning capacity, a thinking capacity. We're thinking things. But we also are a person that is becoming something. We weren't born into the fullness of our reality, that each moment, each day, that we're becoming something. We're human beings that are in the process of coming into something. And the question is, what are we becoming? And before us, each of us has two paths. Is often this ancient wisdom that we have two paths in front of us. And we have the ancient Cherokee proverb of the two wolves, that inside each one of us is a good wolf and a bad wolf. And the wolf that wins the fight, the battle, is the wolf that we feed. And so this is going to be part of that conversation. Truth is the thing that the human intellect feeds on. Truth is the thing that the human person consumes. And we become that which we consume. And so the question is whether or not we have a space in society where we can pursue truth, where we can dialogue about truth, where we can have conversations in the pursuit of truth, and whether or not we have that even exercised within society. And do we have that space? And Pieper is going to play on Socrates and the ancient philosophers, that we do, and that the school is the place for which this conversation about truth is found and is lived out, and that we need to create that space in our universities to pursue truth. This is why so many colleges have Veritas as one of their pillars, or their words on their seals. Like Harvard is Veritas, Mount Marty is Scientia Veritas, and I believe Sophia, wisdom, because we believe that at the heart of this education is this pursuit of truth. All right, so we have this pursuit of truth that we're about, and it is as the human person is becoming more, we're becoming more human. That we do this through human choice, and that the human person, when we choose, or we discover truth, we become free. And so the pursuit of truth is important, because in the discovery of truth, in the integration of truth into our mind and being, we become free creatures that are capable and possible of living flourishing lives. So you want to find meaning and purpose in your life? Well, pursue truth. Discover who you are, what you are. Discover what the world is, how you relate to it. Not as you perceive or imagine or as you're told, but you want to be pursuing what it actually is. And so this is Pieper's Defense of Freedom article. It's chapter 45 of his anthology. And so the human person, we get to choose. We have the path of wisdom or vanity. We have the consciousness, David Foster Wallace and his path of consciousness or unconsciousness. The Cherokee proverb, as we mentioned. Virtue. Yeah, this idea of virtue or vulgarity, that when we choose, we have this freedom of choice, that we can become, we become what we choose. And if we choose falsehoods or we choose lesser goods, that we become vulgar, we become less than human, inhumane, if you will. So, you want to become human, pursue truth, be truth seekers. That's my great proclamation to you today, is become truth seekers. That's what the philosophers are. That's what you can be as a truth seeker. And in the attainment of truth, you will become free. And this is what we mean in Scripture. When Scripture says the truth will set you free, this is what we mean. So what does that look like, and what does that mean? What is truth? What is freedom? All these things. This is the direction we're going to continue to move. Okay? So that's a quick little nutshell. Pieper's article, The Defense of Freedom, Zagzebski's bullshit. It's about the human person's pursuit of truth. Pieper says that truth lives or is found in the environment of conversation. All right, so where do we find truth? We find it when we talk with one another. This is why the society today is so sick, right? It's because we can't talk to one another. We struggle to dialogue and have conversation. Well, this is where truth lives, and truth frees us, and therefore we're sick. We're running around bound and in chains and, throwing up. And, why? Because we're living in a false reality. Plato's cave, right? We're stuck in the cave. It's dark out. We haven't escaped. We've actually went back in. So how does this work? Well, if truth lives in dialogue, then we have to be truth speakers as well as seekers, and we have to understand when people are speaking truth. And so this is part of Zagzebski's article. She talks about bullshitters, people that don't care about the truth. They just care about winning the argument, or they lack substance to their sophisticated rhetoric, right? They sound great. They're a clanging gong. Marketing. Today's world of advertising and marketing, how often can we be sold a bill of goods that really isn't needed or necessary for human fulfillment and meaning? An example of bullshit, if you will. The commercial for a hamburger versus the actual hamburger that you get when you go to the restaurant, right? You go to the fast food joint, you get the hamburger. It's not quite the way that they make it look on TV, right? That's bullshit. It's not the truth of the nature of the thing itself. It's a presentation of an image that's being given to you that you have a choice on whether or not to accept that as reality or a falsehood. And you can know that it's false, obviously, and still go get the hamburger, but it's not the hamburger that you saw on the commercial. That's bullshit. And what Plato, what Socrates, what the ancients talked, their relationship to this thing was with a group of people called the sophists. And the sophists, so if you have Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, you have, in Aristotle, you have this group that are truth seekers, and then on the other side, you have this school, this group of teachers that are paid, right? They're paid to teach the noble children and the wise, the leaders, and they're known as sophists, and Plato's very, very, very critical of them. They might be seeking excellence, but he's going to say, you know what? They might be snakes in the grass. They might be saying things that sound good but lack substance. And so he's very much against the sophists. Why? Because the sophists are attacking truth. They're attacking the creation of a space of conversation where truth can live and be sought together. And that's partly the problem, or partly the criticism that Pieper's going to offer in his day. Pieper is a German philosopher, and he's living at the time of Hitler and social Nazism. And so he's going to deeply be experiencing this in his culture and society, as many people at that time become sophists, right? They become bullshitters. They become people that are presenting a false image of reality. They're not giving the true good. They're not seeking the true nature of the things, right? And so this is what humanities professors do. This is what the liberal arts are, is they're about the presentation and the consumption and the dialogue and the integration of truth and wisdom and knowledge, and about creating a space for that dialogue to exist so that truth can be sought. This is why oftentimes in dictatorships and other leaders that take over people, they oftentimes cut off the head. They cut off the intellect. They cut off the professors. Some of the first people that are attacked in Nazi Germany are the intellectuals, particularly the humanities professors, those that engage in the arts, philosophy and theology and the creative capacity, music, because there's something about them that opens up the human spirit and the soul for more. It brings the human person into a connection to the path to a deeper reality, to live deeper lives, more meaningful lives. It's a beautiful thing that the liberal arts and the humanities are. And that's what Pieper encourages us and offers us in his work on the defense of freedom, that in order to be human beings that live flourishing lives, we need to create free spaces where we're able to talk about and dialogue about the difficult conversations and difficult realities that are before us in society and in reality of our lives. And that's not always what politicians are interested in. It's not always what even educational institutions might be interested in. But we're going to be moving into Plato, Socrates' death and trial of Socrates. And in this is what Socrates dies for. He dies ultimately in defense of the freedom of conversation and pursuit of truth. And so this is one of the great epic narratives, stories, encounters in human education, is the death and trial of Socrates, who ultimately commits his own death, his own suicide, because he's been tried and found guilty of poisoning the youth by teaching them this very same concept, that the human person needs to have a space in which, outside of political or other influence, they can pursue that which is true and good. All right, y'all, that's it. Choose the good path today, right? Coronavirus, all these different things going on out there. Choose the good path. Choose the wise path, not the vain path. Be patient with one another. Don't be vulgar, but seek to forgive and reconcile. Grit, dig in, but also provide a place of grace for the challenges that are before us here today. But we can become more. I'm convinced 100% that this is a time of hope and that great good will come about this. The Lord never takes things away from us. My brother reminded me, he said, without desiring to give us something. And so, keep your eyes open, your spirit awake and attentive to the things that the Lord has to give to you today. So with that, peace out, y'all. We'll see you on the flip side to my students and anybody else out there listening. We'll catch up with you next time as we talk further about Josef Pieper's The Defense of Freedom, Zagzebski's Bullshit, and about how to better choose the good path as we pursue truth and seek freedom in our lives. Peace.